the artillery had been working the days before that, and the Russians were already retreating. We did not make contact with the enemy. The enemy was already well on its way to pull back behind Belarusian borders. So, yeah.
And then where from there did you end up going?
From there, we were supposed to. It was quite a lengthy period of restructuring and reorganizing, which brought a little bit of organization to the Legion, not as much as really needed. And then we were sent off to the south, to Mykolaiv, and we're supposed to go on missions there. We went to missions there, although, there was a lot of bullshit that came between us and the missions, and it wasn't until May that we actually got to the front line. And after a mission that we were part of a crossing force that was supposed to take a bridgehead over the Ingulets, which is in the northeastern part of the Mykolaiv Oblast. That after that mission went to shit, me and my team decided to go our own way. I took the best guys with me and went to, like I said, another unit, left the Legion behind.
Yeah. And can you tell us about some of these bad experiences that you had with the Legion? Because I've heard of a lot of corruption, planned suicide missions, things like this. Of course, I haven't experienced it myself, so I rely on gentlemen who have sort of been there, done that, and their experiences.
Okay, so to clarify this, I was in the Alphas, the supposedly special forces of the Legion under the Secret Service of Ukraine, GUR, or the GUR? Yeah, I think DUI, or no, DIU, Directorate of Intelligence of Ukraine is the for the American viewers. So there, to start, I don't know of any suicide missions that were planned as suicide missions. I know of comrades that died, like Grady Kurpazi, for example, who was with me in Bucha. He was a fellow team leader in Bucha. Or it's the Scott Ridley, I think was the other one that got killed because of just pure negligence and poor planning, because people were sent to the same OPs over and over, even after though they had been hit by artillery. And it had nothing to do with the fact that there was no malicious intent. It was just sheer stupidity. And at some point, when people started to no longer do these missions, after people died, they sent the next squad in that just evacuated the dead, and told them, okay, now you go back into that hole where, three of the other guys just died. And they said no, and none of them, and there were no repercussions, right? So no one was reprimanded for refusing those orders. So yeah, that's what I have to say about suicide missions. Everything else, though, the corruption, guns, being loaded into civilian cars in the middle of the night, never to be seen again, bayonets that were supposed to be there, that at some point just dematerialized, drone guns that apparently never made it there, Glocks that went missing after 2 days. All of that I can attest to. I can attest to lying, constant fucking lying, mostly from the Ukrainians, mostly from the upper echelons, people like Taras or Sasha that we were under, but also just on your level, constant lying, constant misinformation, gaslighting, just blatant fucking gaslighting. and of course rough mistreatment. So I had the guys in my team actually, while I was in Mykolaiv, he was in Kiev with Sasha, and he had Sasha pull a gun on him and demand that he hand over his 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 combat gear,
Right.
which he purchased for the unit.
Yeah. Wow. And you speak about this of loading guns into cars, going missing, with Sasha pointing a gun at a gentleman and then having that handed over. What did that make you feel like continuing the fight? Because I know if I was part of something like that in not my country, I probably would have been like, fuck yeah, and left.
I knew that I had to leave the Legion, but I couldn't leave Ukraine because like I said, I had a lot of really beautiful, lovely experiences with the people, and I was still sympathetic to the average Ukrainian. So I definitely wanted to fight, but I had nowhere else to go. So I stayed for the Legion as long as I felt it was necessary to get the chance to do something.
Yes.
But of course, like I said, the first chance I got, I took, and I didn't look back.
Yeah. And what was that chance?
So that chance was a recently split and reformed volunteer unit. So you will probably know this, probably a lot of viewers won't, but there are probably dozens, if not hundreds, of independent volunteer units. So most volunteers are not actually with the legions. Most volunteers are either in other volunteer units of, for example, the SBU or the SSO, the Spetsnaz of Ukraine, or they form independent units that either fight really independently or at some point, seek to organize themselves into or integrate themselves into either the SSO, GUR, or the ZSU, the regular army. One of which, for example, is the Norman Brigade that I knew. I think they said they were fighting independently, and only by the end of 2022 became ingrained with the Ukrainian army, got contracts and everything. That was one of these units, except we didn't try to fight on our own. We, from the get-go, refused to do anything without official paperwork and official uniforms. So we embarked on an odyssey, really an odyssey, to get integrated into this SAO. We went to Bakhmut to sign on there. That didn't work. We went to Mykolaiv on some really just weapon runs. We were honestly we felt more like Chinese warlords in the 1920s. It's like we just joined the local warlord and we hope that we can fight for the government someday. And it was wild. It was fucking wild. And after meeting, I guess, a bigger warlord, for the sake of anonymity, in the book I called him Aravan. Let's say Aravan. Really, I have no idea what he was. I have no idea. He works with the army, but he's not actually in the army. He does what an officer does, but he's not actually an officer. He has a lot of powerful friends and a lot of connections, but no actual legal command power, but somehow does. I have no idea how it works. To me, it always seemed like we just joined the biggest warlord, and this warlord actually worked with the government. So we joined him, and we were integrated into the 59th Motor Rifle Brigade of Ukraine back in Mykolaiv. And that is where I saw most of the fighting. That is where, all the cool Humvee combat footage from me and Yuri came about.